With that, I would like to invite Brant to talk about CAP.
Thank you, Ananya, and thank you, Center of Hope. Hi, everybody. My name is Brant, and tonight I have the pleasure of talking about our partnership with Cathedral Arts Project and how over the course of the summer they tasked us with understanding the positive impacts of the arts on the children of military families. But to begin this story, we need to take a step back. This is Jacksonville, our home, known for being the largest city in America by land area, known for its sprawling beaches, and known, of course, for that one character from the Good Place TV show. But one thing many people forget about Jacksonville is it's actually one of the most prominent military hubs in America. Between Naval Station Mayport and Naval Air Station Jacksonville, it's actually estimated that every 1 in 5 people here has a direct connection to the military, whether that be prior service, working for them as a civilian contractor, or simply by having an immediate family member previously in the service. So while military families are a key component of Jacksonville's identity, individual military families often move around, staying here for only a few years before being reassigned elsewhere. This cycle of relocations can be quite difficult for these families, but even more so for their children. Which brings us to our wicked problem. As military families face a difficult cycle of relocations, their children face unique challenges in creating friendships and building a stable sense of belonging. To put this into perspective, the children of an active military family will, on average, relocate every 2 to 3 years and will attend between 6 and 9 different schools during their K-12 education. To make things more stressful for them, they'll often be separated from one of their parents for periods in excess of 6 months at a time due to an active deployment. These problems can come together to make it feel like these kids are just jumping from one temporary stop to another, never truly forming that critical sense of community that they need. Now, while it's true, no one organization can completely eliminate the challenges associated with the military lifestyle, one organization is trying to make Jacksonville feel less like a temporary stop and more like a home to these kids. Which is where we get to introduce our community partner, Cathedral Arts Project. Cathedral Arts Project is a Jacksonville nonprofit dedicated to empowering children through accessible and high-quality arts education. Through its myriad community and in-school programs, it wants to give every child the opportunity to create, collaborate, and build lifelong connections. Though it started as a single dance class over 30 years ago, it has developed into a nationally recognized arts education provider and has served over 43,000 kids. It's because of this that the city of Jacksonville gave them funding to use their arts expertise to start the Brave Hearts program. A program specifically designed to bring arts and a sense of community to military families and their children. The initiative does this through its 4 core programs: the in-school integration of the arts with existing military support networks, an arts program right on Mayport, in the Mayport Child Development Center, bringing the arts directly to kids on base, 2 free summer camps for military children where they can meet friends who might be facing some of the same challenges, and of course, the Military Family Day, which CAP sets up in conjunction with Blue Star Families Jacksonville, bringing military families together in a community event. This last April, the Military Family Day took place at the Jacksonville Zoo and Botanical Gardens, with free admission and special events to show these families how much their sacrifices mean to us. Because much of our analysis focused on how Brave Hearts benefits students in schools, it's probably important I let you know what that designation actually means. So, under the Duval County Public Schools umbrella, there are schools that are recognized for having military support structures. These schools are given the designation Purple Star and have such benefits as leaving school enrollment seats open year-round for incoming military students and having a military liaison as part of the faculty to help incoming military families make decisions for their children. Also under the Duval County Public Schools umbrella are schools with an active CAP presence. This can be the in-school Arts Smarts program, the after-school Arts Ignite program, or field trips to arts presentations and performances. Now, The schools that have both a CAP presence and the Purple Star designation are the target of the Brave Hearts initiative. Because it's a fairly new program, there are only 4 schools as of right now: Abbas Park Elementary, Mandarin Oaks Elementary, Venetia Elementary, and Springfield Middle. But we expect these numbers will grow. So, with our wicked problem and all of the context surrounding it established, how can we paint a picture of CAP's impact and show that Brave Hearts is making a real difference? Well, we approach the problem from 2 directions. One, understanding the individual impacts that these programs have. Through surveys, testimonials, and interviews, we got to see how Brave Hearts touch the lives of real people. And secondly, if Brave Hearts has the positive effect we believe it does, then we should be able to see that in trends across and between schools at the county level. So to integrate these 2 perspectives into one cohesive story of how Brave Hearts helps children, we needed to overcome 3 data science hurdles. The first, identifying the best indicators of Brave Hearts' value to students and families. Second, comparing CAP and non-CAP students to highlight the benefit that arts education can have. And finally, demonstrating that Brave Hearts creates that all-important sense of belonging that is critical to these children. To continue this story and go over our analysis, I would like to invite my teammate Amanda to the stage. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Brant. Good evening, everyone. So like Brant said, once we understood our wicked problem and how we wanted to approach it from a data science point of view, we needed to gather our data. We were very fortunate that CAP had a lot of internal data for us to work with, the bulk of which was survey data. At the end of the school year, surveys were sent out to our Brave Hearts students, parents, and teachers to assess the impact that CAP had had on them the past year. For our students and parents, this survey was a quick 10 to 12 question survey that asked things like, I or my child can focus on tasks from beginning to end, and then they would indicate their agreement level. The teacher survey was a bit different. The teachers actually evaluated their students at both the beginning and the end of the school year, giving us the opportunity to directly measure observed growth. CAP also provided program level attendance rates and student academic performance. At the school level, we needed to source external data, which we got from the Florida Department of Education's website. Every school is required to report certain metrics in the form of a report card. From this, we gathered things like school demographic information. This had total enrollment rates, percentage of military students at the school, and things like arts accessibility. We also gathered school-level attendance rates and school-level academic performance. We were very fortunate to have so many pieces of data and different sources of data, but this also became one of our challenges. How do we tie it all together? So we started data processing. We started internally with our survey data. After reading through the questions that were asked, we worked with our community partner to identify common themes or constructs behind the question. These were academic engagement, communication skills, and mental focus. We matched each question to one of these constructs, and these became our impact measurements. Next, we needed to standardize our survey responses. The surveys were designed on a Likert scale, which is an agreement scale. So we categorized all of the responses and assigned each one a numeric value for analysis. Externally, we needed to gather the data from the over 200 schools in the Duval County Public School System. This web scraping was done using Playwright. Once we had all of our data pieces, we needed to ensure that everything was clean and consistent, which we did using Python and R. Next, we were ready for analysis. For our survey outcomes, we largely saw positive results across all 3 of our constructs: academic engagement, communication skills, and mental focus. But each survey, each perspective highlighted something different. For our teachers that were able to assess their students at both the beginning and the end of the school year, we saw a 51% gain in academic engagement. For our Brave Hearts parents, 62% reported improvement in their child's communication skills. And the students themselves, 74% reported an improvement in their mental focus. Externally, we took a look at academic performance. This is based on the state of Florida's standardized testing in both English language arts and math. These tests are issued at 3 points in the school year, beginning, middle, and end. For our analysis, we considered the end of school year score, or PM3, as this is what's used to assess a student's progress and promotion to the next grade. The tests are graded on a scale of 1 to 5, where 3 is grade level performance. The chart on the right shows the percentage of students performing at or above grade level at the end of the year. And the trend that we saw in the data is that schools that have a CAP presence are performing slightly better, and this was increased even more in our Braveheart schools. Similarly, we took a look at school attendance rates. And again, we saw a similar trend, that where there's a CAP presence, we're seeing slightly higher attendance in school, and even more so in our Braveheart schools. But if you look closely at these numbers, you might be thinking 2.6% is not a big difference. But when you calculate this out, it actually ends up being 4.7 additional days of school that these students are attending. And when you consider that the district values 1 day of attendance at $33 a student, this really starts to add up. For our elementary schools, the median enrollment was just over 400 students, which ends up being over $74,000. This is money that is already being spent, but is value being realized for these students being in school. So imagine if we could multiply this out across schools. At the conclusion of our project, we had a couple of recommendations for CAP. And the first is, if you ask a data scientist for feedback, they're going to want more data. So that's the first thing we recommend, is to continue collecting data, especially the direct feedback that we get from those surveys. We recommend monitoring survey response in real time to encourage higher response rates and equal distribution amongst perspectives and across schools. Secondly, we recommend expanding the in-school portion of the Bravehearts program. In our analysis, we were able to collect data such as the proportion of military students within schools, and this is information that we've provided to CAP for their consideration. And our last recommendation is to continue more community-based events. Not every child of a military family is yet of school age, and even those that are, they may not choose to enroll in public school. So the more opportunities we have to reach these families where they are, the better. After reading through all of the questions that were asked in the surveys and the testimonials from this inaugural year of Bravehearts, there was one theme that kept making itself clear, which is that where you offer arts access, we're fostering a community of belonging. And where these children feel secure in that belonging, we're seeing improved outcomes in both personal and academic performance. But don't just take my word from it. As one parent said, I've seen her confidence grow, especially speaking in front of people. And from the students themselves, CAP made me feel welcomed. It made me feel a part of something bigger than myself. So to cap it all off, this is the pilot year of the Bravehearts program, and we've seen the impact that it's made on the families of our military community. So imagine what we could do if we continue to grow and expand this program. Thank you all very much.